Hello.
How
You
are you
know,
doing?
I'd really like to,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good, 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 good. Well, I'm so glad that we were able to connect. And again, I am so sorry about what happened last time. I have no
Not to
excuses
worry.
other than chaos, but
Not to worry.
Yeah.
It's an interesting times.
yeah,
Helene,
but
I just wanted to indicate when we first started this call, we didn't know where things were heading. I just would like to personally, on behalf of IHBC, thank you. I hope you realize that you have created and are leaving a legacy which will grow into much fruition over the next decades. So
oh, thank
thank you
you.
for your incredible leadership. It's been absolutely awesome.
Oh, so nice of you to say that. And I'm actually hopeful that as you say, this is just the beginning. And I'm really looking forward to, continue to, help on the outside world to
Good.
move this field forward. So it's not over for me. But yeah, I think that NIH is in a very interesting place right now. There's a lot of work to continue to do. Yeah.
Well,
And there
again, I'd like
there was some talk, is NCCIH um, going to remain intact, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no indication that there's any current threat, which we were very worried about in the spring um, because of the president's budget. But neither the House nor the Senate picked that up in any of their markups. There was no indication of any restructuring of NIH institutes or centers at this point in time, and even nobody is even anticipating that. So it's very possible that in the next fiscal year, the next president's budget will bring this up again. But if it does, if it happens, we have no reason to think that the Congress would go along with that at all. There's been very, very strong support for NIH and from both the House and the Senate that has not really wavered. So we're we're confident that assuming we get another budget, which we will at some point, it will, it may, even if it's a continuing resolution, we'll just continue with our previous year, budget and carry on.
Great. Steve,
All
I'm
right.
sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to thank Dr. Langevin for taking the time and meeting with us.
Oh, of course,
And
my pleasure.
when we first requested to have the meeting, I guess we submitted our proposals to the Maha Commission back in July 31st.
Yeah,
And
I saw that.
we were hoping to get some assistance from you to get some a little push behind some of our thinking and where we're heading. And so now it's a couple of months later, and you're retiring and moving back to Vermont, and are going to help us from the outside.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
I want
so
to definitely continue to promote anything I can in a different way.
yeah,
Obviously, there's a lot of things I can do from outside the government that I can't do from
right.
inside the government, and vice versa. But I want to also, I will continue, I'll still be a special volunteer at NCCIH for a year because I have a lab at NIDCR that I want to, I will continue for a year. So I'll still have, direct communication with folks at NCCIH. And so, there's, yeah, there's plenty of work to be done. In terms of the letter, I read it very carefully, and I really applaud you for your initiative and your leadership on this. I think that it's with, I can't, comment on, matters that are uh, uh, outside of, NIH basically. But as far as what you were proposing for NCCIH, I think that because if there had been a movement towards restructuring institutes, then what you're proposing would have made perfect sense. Right now, it's looking like there's not going to be a restructuring anytime in any immediate or even near future. And so it sounds like what they're doing is they're just keeping the institutes and centers are just going to stay where they are in terms of their names and,
All right, well, that's, in one sense, that's good news.
Yeah.
Already, and again, I guess I'd like, one of the pillars of our recommendations, all right, had to do with, if I'll call it, the inclusion of all of our partners for health professions. Has been a tendency in the past to study the technique or the application, whether it's acupuncture or spinal manipulation, as a treatment, and not acknowledge that we have all of these professions who are the experts, if you want to call it, in using those treatments, and they tend to get excluded. And the concept that we're
Can you
looking
tell me
at,
excluded from research or from review panels?
excluded from participation in the system. Alrighty,
You're talking about healthcare now or research?
yeah, in the healthcare system. And I
Healthcare.
mean, chiropractic is the only one that's actually, as a profession, recognized in Medicare,
Yeah,
and to a very limited degree. And
Yeah.
so, way back when, the concept of eliminating, if you want to call it, the non-discrimination of Section 2706 only applied to private health insurance. So one of the proposals that we had was to take that concept and to apply it to all of the federal systems, be it Medicare, the VA, et cetera, because we're all professions, not just an application. And in many of the studies that have been done in the past, they've compared the cost of visiting, if you want to call it, the physician versus the chiropractic physician, and they only look at those costs. But what they don't realize is when the patient visits the chiropractor, they not only get evaluated, which isn't paid for, but they get spinal manipulation and they get care without the use of. Whereas when you go to the other route, you compare it to the cost of the medical physician, and he writes a prescription, and then the cost of the prescription is never included in the overall cost of the care. And so that was one concept that we wanted to get recognized in future studies. And the second thing was we wanted to focus on health outcomes. Right? You have tremendous access to existing data, and I think you do a study every 5 years on the utilization of the integrative systems, what we used to call the CAM professions, and
I'm sorry, who you're saying who does this?
No, somewhere in NIH, they do a study every 5 years on the utilization of alternative providers, isn't?
This is the Dr. Richard Nayan's epidemiological work. Is that what you're referring to? I might not make sure that I understand what you're referring to, what the study is, because I think the only study that I'm aware of is his work that he does through the National Health Interview Survey.
Okay, that may be what I'm thinking of, but my point is, you have access to the data, okay, and you could separate those that are actually using the various other professions, and then you can look at the overall costs and the health outcomes of that group versus
Mhm.
those only pursue the medical route without the use of the
Well,
other professions.
Steve, Dr. Langevin worked with Patricia Herman on
Mhm.
cost effectiveness. Patricia gave a presentation at NIH, and they've published a paper in, if I'm not mistaken, Global Advances, looking at cost effectiveness of the complementary disciplines, looking at patient histories, which I think is pretty effective.
Well, this was just a hypothetical case, right? This was not a study
Right.
based on data. It's just that it was to demonstrate that in order to really appreciate the full impact of an approach that relies on, lifestyle support for healthy lifestyle, your time horizon needs to be, first of all, longer than just 1 or 2 years, right? But that pretty, if you do that and you follow a person over the course of, in this case, we looked at 40 years, you can see, substantial healthcare savings. However, this is just a hypothetical case. In order to prove this, using large numbers of individuals, you would have to, follow people for a long time. It would be a very expensive study to do. So we're
Yes,
hoping, though,
longitudinal.
that this
Right.
paper will inspire people to want to look at, longitudinal studies, such as what you just mentioned, Steve, through the National Health Interview Survey, through the All of Us cohort. That's the way you can do that over a long period of time, is to record what people are doing. And then, but again, this is not a randomized, study. So there's,
I,
there's,
I,
there's, there's, pros and cons, obviously, to using this approach.
Yeah, and our thought was, instead of, I mean, it's one thing to set up a new study. We're thinking of a retroactive review of our
Yeah.
past information.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's very much what Richard is doing.
Okay.
Have you talked, do you know him, Richard Nahum?
No,
He,
no.
so he's our epidemiologist at
Okay.
NIH, at NCCIH. He's actually the very first, he's employee number one. He was there at the very beginning. He was my program officer, the very first grant that I submitted to NCAM at the time in 1998. He was my program officer then, and he's still at NCCIH. He's just we just incorporated him into our intramural program. So he might be someone that you might enjoy meeting, and so he can tell
Okay.
you about what he's doing. He's very good, and he's been doing a lot of work on really looking at the utilization of complementary therapies, and then these studies are all correlative, right? And relationships to different health outcomes. He's focused traditionally more on pain, but lately he's been looking at whole person health, in
Right.
terms of looking at the impact over broader health. And so he's very much, I think, very much doing kind of work that you're suggesting here needs to be done. So that's happening right now.
Okay. All right. And our thought is
The, the
we
offshoot,
need, I was
Pardon?
gonna say, we need the data,
go ahead,
okay, in
Steve.
order to justify getting, if you want to call it, the laws passed and the regulations modified, so that the professions can participate in the systems. And so that's why we raised that issue.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
sorry to
totally
interrupt
agree.
you.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's exactly what we need.
No,
Right.
I was just talking about another doorway, and I hope that you stay involved with this group that you created, Helene, and that is that the Coalition for Whole Person Health Research is made up of numerous organizations
Yeah.
led by Tracy Godet and Amy Mack. I think that has great potential, And I'm
Yeah.
going to just be very blunt about this because I think you know me well enough. Need your, I hope you spend time giving your wisdom and advice to them because they're going to need a lot of innovative visionary work to grow.
Oh, yeah, that's my plan. I don't know if
Good,
you've
good.
heard, but I'm also going to be playing an advisory role at the consortium of integrated centers
Yes,
for but also continuing to work very closely with the coalition. I know that one of the things that we really need to all get our heads together is get around some of the I would say almost like branding issues as to what we call things in terms of whole person health versus whole health versus integrative health versus, there's so many different, but it's all about health, you know? And so that's one of the first things that I'm going to do is make sure, because I think a lot of times, even within the coalition, there's a kind of energy spent arguing about what to call things. And I think
right.
we need to get past that. So that's going to kind of be my first order of business is to make sure that I take a stock of what's happening and really understand what the issues are that people are a little bit stuck on and making sure that everybody can, because when we started this coalition, was it 2 years ago? It was clear that there needed to be a unified uh, sense of purpose and a unified, because before that you had the acupuncturists and the chiropractors and the naturopaths and everybody was doing their
Hmm.
own advocacy, but really it wasn't very effective because it really didn't come together. And I know, and IHPC was the one organization that actually did, tie a lot of things together. And it was very, very good. It's just that we wanted to also make sure that all of that was kind of lined up with this new focus that we had on whole person health. And I think that because we wanted to have some support, right, for the research that we were going to fund. And there was
Right.
great enthusiasm for this idea. Right now, I'm sort of starting to wonder about what is the next stage for this coalition. What is it? What can it do? So I'm going to spend a good amount of time in the next year to try to really understand that. And I welcome any suggestion that you may have.
Well, there's two things. Number one, I have combined the social determinants with my Taoist viewpoint of life, having studied some Taoism, and that is I look at whole person health as the optimal approach to the person, to the patient, and then whole health extends that to the community, to environmental issues, to the nation, to the world. So that's how I see it. I just see as whole person health as a specific focus to overall healthcare. It's maybe simplistic, but that's what I'm most
Yeah,
comfortable with
I've
in
I've
my
been hearing
viewpoint.
similar, and this is very much how I uh, view it as well. I see whole health as broader and really focused on healthcare delivery systems, for example, changing how healthcare is delivered versus whole person health at NCCIH anyway. The reason why we put the word person in there is because we wanted to overcome the silos of the heart and the lungs
Right,
and the muscles and because in
right.
research that's really where a lot of the work needs to happen, is to bringing these things together. And that's what I worked on very, very, very hard at NIH over the last 7 years, to try to get all the different institutes and centers at NIH to buy into this. And I've had success there beyond my wildest hopes. We've
Oh,
had
it's amazing,
projects, yes. We
amazing.
had programs that we have funded where we had to sign-ons from just about every single institute at NIH. Um, And so people are really buying into this idea of the whole person. They really understand how the research that happens for your heart or your liver or whatever has to relate to the whole person. Otherwise, it's missing something really, really important. And so that's why we had the word person in there. Now, I'm not, you know, I can I can live with changing a name. I mean, it's an issue of branding or anything like that. It's just that we want to make sure that whatever terms people use are the most useful, to accomplish whatever transformation we want. This needs to be a transformation, right? Or approach to health. It's not a simple thing. Now, integrative health is a whole other concept that kind of came as a sort of almost legacy, right? From complementary and then integration but ultimately all of this needs to be integrated. It's not just integrating taking a few complementary therapies and putting them together with conventional medicine. It really is about delivering care for the whole person. So that's why I'm thinking it's kind of how it's evolving.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm not happy with, for example, my goodness, I was at the same ashram that Dean Ornish was at when I had brown hair. The whole Ornish method comes from Ayurveda.
Yeah,
The whole thing coming out of the University of Massachusetts, that's Vipassana meditation. What we haven't done, we haven't given the respect that's needed. It's almost like we grafted some of these techniques, but haven't given the respect that these ancient disciplines are whole person. They are completely focused on the whole person. That's who we've learned from and
yeah,
derived. So in
yeah.
some way to pay homage to that, I think is very important as well.
Oh, couldn't agree more. I mean, my own training in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, and that's one of what drew me to it in the first place. Is
Right.
the holistic focus. And that's, I think, why the idea of whole person health or whole health or whatever you call it is so powerful, because it resonates with people intuitively. People get it. You don't have to
Right.
spend a whole lot of time convincing people. That's why I had so much success at NIH with it, is because it made sense. So I really feel like we got something going on. To go back to NCCIH, I think we can take a breath. I think what we need to do now is see what happens. First of all, let's get out of this shutdown. Um, once we get back on our feet and we can see what Congress decides in terms of budget, we'll have another year uh, funded, and then we can start to see. We'll have to see again, what does a president's budget look like in 26? What is it that we get? And then
Right.
at that point, if they raise that specter again, you can whip out your letter. Now will be the time.
Yeah.
To hammer back on with that. And but I would not recommend doing anything until we see the next president's budget.
Thank you. I completely agree. I'd like you to step out of your NCCIH role for a minute. I just want to ask your advice about something we're doing at IHBC. I you've I personally feel, I didn't write it, but I personally feel we came up with an incredibly excellent white paper on environment and health. I think I think you've had an opportunity to see it. I don't know if you had time to review it. We go through the various
Um,
pollutants, anywhere
was it the part of the white
from
paper?
affecting
Was it part of that?
part of the
Was it a
letter. It was at
different
the bottom of
document?
the letter.
It was at the bottom. Yeah, I did see it.
We went through the various pollutants from a clinical viewpoint of looking at anywhere from diabetes to Parkinson's disease and nitric oxide, et cetera. And we alluded to some of the natural therapies that could help avoid or mitigate some of the exposures.
Yeah.
And let me ask you bluntly, we're planning a congressional briefing on environment and health at a time when we're putting profit over what's best for our people by not even monitoring some of the pollutants through EPA. And, what I've learned in the past is when this was whitewater rafting. I never wanted to go out in grade 4, especially against the rapids. So is this the time to do that, or do you wait for it to have better impact? What's your, just want
Well,
your
so you're
sage
you're now
counsel?
talking about sort of demonstrating um, the harms, essentially, right?
Correct,
So
correct.
that if is essentially the research that needs to happen there is in the purview of the National Institute on Environmental Health Sciences. And I don't know if you've met Dr. Rick Wojcik.
No,
He's the director right now. He's a great guy. And he is obviously extremely interested in all of this. Not just him, but I mean the whole institute. For example, we held a joint workshop with NIEHS last year on endocrine disrupting chemicals.
oh,
And yeah, it was a very well attended workshop. And if if things had continued in their normal way, we probably would have issued a a request for applications following this workshop, but just weren't able to. But but NIEHS is the institute that can do this kind of research. At NCCIH, we are really more interested in the factors that can mitigate some of the effects. Like, so for example, one of the things that we're really interested in is the intersection between environmental exposures and chronic stress, because there is some limited but very compelling data that if you take, if you expose, for example, animals to different toxins. I mean, I think where it has been best documented, I think, was with pesticides. But if you add chronic stress to the experiment, the effects are like, they're much greater.
wow, wow.
So that you can't necessarily remove the pesticide, but you can address the stress. And so that's the area where at NCCIH we're really interested in is at the other thing we discussed at we discussed, I believe this was video recorded. You may be interested in watching this workshop, because at the work it was specifically on endocrine disrupting chemicals, but a lot of that stuff is relevant to many other toxins. That there are protective effects, such as what people are eating in the rest of their diet, that if there's an additional burden of, say, ultra processed foods or whatever, or too a diet that's high in fat, or that can aggravate the effects of the endocrine disruptors. So the thing is, there's things that, for example, are in all the soup can liners, all of the liner of the metal can has these PFAS, things. I mean, you could, wait for the industry to stop using this. I'm not sure how long that's going to take. That could be a big process to first of all demonstrate that really that is coming from there, and secondly, to change that practice might be very tricky. But what you can do right now is to reduce the other factors that we can address, such as getting exercise, managing stress, getting good sleep, improving our diets, which could, reduce the harmful effects of whatever toxin we're exposed to. Now, this is not proven, but I think it's an area where we really need a lot of research, because it's going to be a long time, before these,
It's vital.
I mean, we've shown we've been able to get rid of some toxins that were clearly demonstrated, but there's probably hundreds of others that we don't even know about.
Oh, microplastics, unbelievable with microplastics. I know.
Plastics. I mean,
If you,
but it's going to be a long time before we can get rid of plastics. You can imagine. But what can we do right now? What can we do right now to
you
help
know
protect people?
what I've read, in the bottled water, the microplastics are okay until it's the heat of the capping process that disperses the microplastics into the water. There's got to be another way. I mean, my God.
Yeah. So I'm
But
not saying
could I ask?
don't put. Yeah. So that's what NIEHS is going to work on to at the level of the chemicals themselves and how to reduce the amount. But as far as NCCIH is concerned, we're more, we're not going to start. We don't have the budget, first of all, to do. That's what NIEHS is for.
Right.
But what we
Good.
are interested in is how to mitigate through lifestyle approaches, and I think there's a lot of room for that.
May I impose upon you to give me an introduction to that gentleman? Because perhaps,
To Dr.
I might
Warta?
invite him. Yeah, I think I might invite him to be one of the presenters at a congressional briefing.
Well, that would be great. I will definitely reach out to him. I can't do anything during the shutdown, unfortunately. But
right.
once the government reopens, I will reach out to him and let him know that you're interested in talking. Sure.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know you are. I can't imagine how busy you are at
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I
But
think let me see what my schedule. If I think I'm out, we're almost. No, I have more time. So yeah, is there? Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to extend an invitation for you to speak at IHBC to our assembly, which
I'd love to.
we're meeting in November. I don't know if you have time in November. You want to wait until after
What
your
date in
retirement.
November? Because my official retirement date is November 30th. It might be good for me to speak after I retire, right?
Sure. We'll send you some times. That would be phenomenal to have you give an address.
I think that would be great. Maybe sometime in this. Is this online or is this
It would be
is
it would be Zoom,
on Zoom?
and yeah, although I haven't seek Steve's permission yet. I'll give it. My thought is that we invite in our network, our collaborators. The consortium was always reluctant to join, but I'd like to invite the consortium members, etc. I'm a
Yeah.
member there, and just get everybody together to hear your thoughts on the future.
I think that would be great. So let's not schedule it too early in December, just in case I can't imagine that the shutdown would last that long, but just so that I can get my bearings after I retire and just make sure that, I'm all done. So
Would
maybe towards the later
you want
part
to
of
wait till
December.
January?
Or January would be
You want to wait
fine.
till mid-January?
If you're okay with that, that would work fine. I'm also, I'm going to be giving a few sort of, I have to basically be very clear about, how I'm going to work with the external community, how I'm going to work with the consortium. So, and I'm going to start at the consortium in my advisory capacity on January 12th. So maybe after that would be good.
Great. You know, and the other
Okay.
thing I just wanted to impart upon you before we leave, we never approached you because it wasn't the time or things were happening, but Richard Hammerschlag and I were having a discussion about having a 1 or 2 day meeting on essentially the biofield and the scientific evidence for the biofield and therapeutic approaches, which obviously includes acupuncture, but many other disciplines. So just for sake of awareness, I just wanted to bring that up to you as something that we were thinking about, but quite never got to about. But
Well,
I
I
think that
have
would be a
known
phenomenal
Richard
conference.
forever, and he's a dear friend. And I'm always interested now. Would just a meeting or just like a Zoom meeting like we're doing now, or what are you thinking about?
We were actually thinking of a 2 day meeting on campus at NIH, but
Oh, at NIH. Oh,
yeah, but
um,
I'll leave that in the back of your mind because
yeah.
it can
Well,
certainly be a Zoom meeting at some point, a
so you
day-long
wanted
Zoom
to
meeting.
involve
But
NIH with this? Is that
you
what
know,
you
not
want?
necessarily. Well, we
Yeah. Well,
did. That was our original thought, but I just wanted to impart
yeah.
that idea upon you. It can certainly morph.
As long as as whatever you're interested in focuses on research, then we don't have any areas of research that we're not interested in, as long as it's good, solid research, in terms of these types of complementary, approaches to care. The what do you call them? The obstacles or the challenges are always in the methods. And so one of the areas that we're really always very interested in is the development of methods to study subtle energies. That's definitely, we're very interested in that for sure. So it'll be up to the new NIH leadership, NCCIH leadership, as to whether or not they would want to do some kind of meeting or workshop or something like that. Bear in mind, we have lost over 50% of our staff at NCCIH. That's the tragedy. Even though our budget is, as
Disgusting.
far as grant making, is preserved, we have a lot fewer people, and we used to have an entire communication department that would organize workshops and conferences and things like that, and is no more. They're gone. So we have a
My
lot
God.
less of capacity to do the kinds of meetings. Maybe, I mean, I'm hoping that some of that will come back as we're able to rebuild and rehire people and that kind of thing. But for the time being, it's very limited what we can do in terms of workshops and things like that. So I just want you to know that in
I
advance, so
understand.
you
Thank you.
understand the situation we're in.
Thank you. Could you tell me a little bit about your successor?
There, Dr. Shirtliff? Yeah, David is he's the deputy director of NCCIH, and he is a fantastic guy. He was the acting director before I got here. So he was the deputy director under Dr. Briggs, and he did the previous transition. He did a fantastic job then, and I have no question in my mind that he will do a fantastic job going forward. So yeah, so he will take over after I retired on November 30th. And I'm sure he's looking forward to working with you guys, and and then we're very fortunate that our leadership is solid. Wendy Weber, I don't know if you know do you know Wendy?
Yeah, I know Wendy.
Yeah, she's going to be the deputy director, acting deputy director.
Oh, that's great.
Wendy,
That's great.
Wendy is a naturopath by training, and she is absolutely tops in clinical research. I'm absolutely 100% confidence in her. And Wen Chen, I don't know if you know her. She is going to be the director of extramural research. She's a basic scientist, and she is really extremely. Um, I can't say enough about her in terms of she's a great scientist in her own right, and she's going to be just the perfect person to take NCCIH research to the next level.
Wonderful. That's great. You know, at some time next year, I'd like to approach you and just pick your brain. I have been associated with Konstantin Kurakov. Are you familiar with the name?
Yeah,
For decades. That technique, unfortunately, has been completely in we can't call it new age anymore, but in the fringe communities, such that the scientific value quantitatively of the measurements have been disregarded by the conventional community.
yeah,
I have tried to get it researched, and number one, even though I personally have found it to be very efficacious, um, now the fact that he's from Russia as well, it's something that maybe after the first of the year, when you're settled in Vermont, and we could sit down and have a bit of a discussion about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on potentially how to promote it, because I have found it to be a cost-effective way to approach a patient, especially one who I haven't seen before.
yeah.
I've
I've
used
spent a
it in my
good amount of
practice for
time,
decades.
yeah, over the years, reading about it. I'm familiar with the technique. There's a lot there that really needs good research, in my opinion. I think that is very important, that we basically understand what's under the hood, with these types of machines, so yeah, I'm very interested in this from the point of view of mechanisms, um, for sure. So yeah, I'd love to talk later. Mhm. It would be how to design an
Discussion for
experiment to
another
essentially
time.
understand what's going on, right? Yeah, and then submit a grant about it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I have some ideas, but that's for next year when you're
yeah.
in Burlington.
So I can't talk about this now.
Steve, of course. Steve, I'm sorry I took so much time. Did you have any other topics that you'd like to speak with Dr. Langevin about?
No, I think I'm encouraged by the fact that Dr. Langevin is going to continue the connection, as well as that the NCCIH is not going down the tubes. And sorry about
No.
the loss of some of the personnel.
Yeah, the staff
Uh,
loss is actually probably the most significant problem right now.
but
It's going to
I
be a
think
while before, but despite of that, we managed to spend down our budget for FY25. We had a very successful year. We had a successful council round. We held a successful council back in September. So I don't know if you had a chance to see my council report. It's if you go to NIH, I would encourage you to do that. If you go to NIH videocast and type in NCCIH Council, September 2025. I gave two talks. One was my director's report at the beginning, and then at the end, I gave a little bit of a closing remarks about my retirement and stuff. But especially if you look at the director's report, and it'll give you an idea about a lot of well, a lot of stuff that I touched upon, but more. I think you'll find it interesting. And also in January, I'm going to be also giving another talk as a guest at council.
Okay. Well, again.
Excellent, thank you.
You're
the major
welcome.
thing I think is what one is to thank you, but also to help guide us in how we can help the NCCIH going
Yeah.
into the.
If you can help with keeping this coalition together, I think that'll be very important. Because IHPC is really important part of the coalition, and you build bridges, and I think this is it. I mean, it's all about keeping people working towards a common purpose and not splintering off into different directions. That's going to be the challenge.
Okay.
So anyway, I gotta go because I have another thing that just popped up.
Of course,
But
it's been
but
wonderful and an
so
honor to
it's a
speak with you.
pleasure to speak with you, and I look forward to following up, and then I will, as soon as the government reopens, I will copy you on an email to Rick Wojcik. And
Thank
then,
you.
yeah, and then I also will send you my contact information for the University of Vermont once I have that. And then we can connect again regarding a talk.
Perfect.
All right.
Helene,
Sounds
thank you
good.
so much. It's
Thank
been
you so
great
much
Oh,
for
speaking
you're
with
really
you. And you
welcome.
well.
It's a pleasure. All
All right.
right. Have a good rest of the day. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.